Hey you guys, welcome back to Rocket City Yardstead. I hope you guys enjoyed that little peek at all of the spring flowers that we have right now where I live. I know I've showed you guys this jessamine multiple times, but come on, it's just the most glorious thing and I can't get enough of it this time of year. But now we're gonna head back to the garden and plant that lettuce that I bought over a week ago now. We had just one random day of cold that came in, and we went from like 75 degrees down to 28 degrees. And I was just worried it might not handle that extreme temperature change. And so I've kept it watered and I put it on the back porch just to keep it safe. But we don't have any more cold in the forecast like that. And so I think it's time to get it in the ground. If you've been here with me through my ant trials, I thought you guys would like an update because we are going to plant lettuce in this area where I have been struggling with all of the ants. I'm noticing them still a lot in the walkway, but I've only seen one or two ants in the raised bed since I put out the ant bait. So I'm hoping that means that it really did its job. I have taken my rake and dug through quite a bit, and it's just a completely different situation. I'm not uncovering hundreds of ants when I do that. And so we're going to plant the lettuce where I always intended to plant the lettuce, which is pretty great, actually. I'm really happy that things seem to be working out like I wanted them to. Since the ants seem to be under control, I do still need to amend this area. So I don't know how well you can see, but I added some feather meal here because my soil is low in nitrogen. And then I'm going to top this with compost and get it nice and spread out. Compost is down, feather meal is in, time to plant my lettuces. Some of these are a little bit sad looking just from having sat on the back porch for over a week. I would have probably waited to buy them if I had known we were going to have that cold snap, but it did not show up in our forecast until fairly close to when it actually occurred. So we do the best with the knowledge we have, right? I think my plan here is going to be to alternate the lettuces. Like I'll do a row of green lettuce. This is my butter crunch. And then I'll do a row of red and then green because I still want to plant some of the lettuces that I'd originally planned on putting out from seed. And I just think it'll be really pretty if it's alternated. Sometimes it's so hard to get things out of the cups from the store. It's part of why I really love starting things from seed at home. I find a higher quality cup makes it easier to remove your plant from the starting cup. I'm really not a big fan of the single-use plastics, but it'll be okay. So let's get these in the soil. I'm digging and I'm not seeing any ants, so that is super encouraging. If by some chance you happen to be new here, and this is the first time you're watching and hearing me talk about ants, not just talking about your average run-of-the-mill ants. This bed has been full of fire ants, and it's just been a big problem. I've been getting bit a lot, and so I don't know if they are dead because I am still seeing them in the walkway, or they figured out I wasn't going to leave them alone and they moved on. But whatever the case is, they seem to have given up their claim to my raised bed garden. The lettuce is all planted. It looks so nice. It's always just my favorite thing to see plants in the ground. And these will look way better in a week or two now that they're in the ground and going to be able to root and really just take up the nutrients and the water. So I'm very excited to see this. And I will get out here soon and plant seeds of lettuce as well. I did want to show you guys. Do you see that? Right there, I have a little baby volunteer dill. And that tells me I need to get out here and actually sow some dill. Probably right in front of this trellis here where that one is. We went through so much freeze-dried dill last year. I think we went through 2 quart jars of freeze-dried dill. We love it in chicken soup. We love it in potato salad. Just all kinds of different applications. Tzatziki sauce. And so we need to have an abundance of dill that we can not only eat fresh, but also put up a bunch of it for next winter. So I think I may run in the house and grab some dill seeds, and we'll go ahead and plant those while we're out here. I ran in the house and grabbed my dill seeds. These are ones that I actually harvested myself for my own plants. And I am just going to scatter sow my dill here pretty heavily, actually, because these seeds are a couple years old. And then I'm just going to kind of zhuzh them into the soil because dill actually requires light to germinate. So, and you guys, I just spilled a whole bunch of dill in the walkway that blew as it spilled. So I may end up with a bunch in the walkway as well. But anyway, dill requires light to germinate. And so you want it pressed into the soil good, but you don't want it completely buried because it needs that sunlight to germinate. I also don't want to cover up my little baby dill plant that is already there. Our dill is planted, and I thought maybe I would take you guys through and just take a peek at how everything's looking here in the garden right now. See our onions here. Our peas and spinach have grown a lot. I also wanted to show you guys, although it's kind of hard to see, that is a carrot sprout. And most of my carrots have germinated. They're kind of hard to see, but there are a whole lot of baby carrot sprouts in the garden. My cilantro plants have been going crazy, and we have had some pretty warm days, and so some of them are actually already starting to bolt, even though it's not even April yet. You can kind of see this one here, right there is a tiny little flower head. I am not worried about that cilantro bolting because let me show you. You see all of these little plants right here? These are all little baby volunteer cilantros. So we are going to have plenty of cilantro. I do want to show you guys something that I have clearly failed at, and I don't know what I did wrong, but I have never had good luck with trying to sow beets. I sow radishes from seed, I do fine. I sow carrots, all kinds of things. But if you look here, there are just absolutely no beet seedlings. And I don't know if I'm planting the seeds too shallow or what, but if you have any tips for me on planting beets, let me know what I need to do. Well, you guys, now that our lettuce is planted and the dill is planted, I think I'm going to go inside and make some brownies. I'm going to try a new recipe today, but have you ever just had one of those days where the craving for something sweet just won't leave you alone? Today is one of those days for me, so let's go try this brownie recipe out. All right, you guys, let's give these brownies a try. So it calls for a cup of nut butter. I'm using cashew butter, and I have right at a cup of homemade cashew butter here. Just scrape it out of my jar and into our bowl. Next, we need half a cup of coconut sugar. You can use brown sugar if you don't use coconut sugar. And a quarter cup of maple syrup. Then we need to add 2 eggs. We're going to get all of these ingredients nice and mixed together. And I am going to rinse my hands off before I do that. All right, nice clean hands so we can get to work on blending this. I think I'm going to need a whisk. I got out a spoon, but I think I need a whisk to mix these ingredients together. So we're just going to whisk all of these ingredients together until they're nice and incorporated. I'm starting to wonder if I might have wanted an actual mixer for this. Some of you might be wondering about the fact that we've been eating lots of cauliflower rice in our house and haven't seen any grains in a while. And when we did the Whole30, there weren't any grains on that diet. But you slowly start adding things back in and see what your body can handle once you finish a Whole30. Well, while we were on the Whole30, I was able to quit taking an acid. When I tried adding the grains back in, I immediately did not react well to them. And so we have been trying to stick more with a paleo diet, and I'm feeling really good, and I'm not having to take that antacid. And so that's why we're making cashew butter brownies. There's no flour of any kind in these. So the next thing we need to add is a tablespoon. It calls for melted coconut oil or butter or a vegan butter. I'm using melted ghee because that's what I have. And it says to whisk that in thoroughly. I got that butter mixed in, and so now we're going to add 1/3 cup of cocoa powder. I thought it was kind of funny. The recipe specifically says don't use Hershey's, use a nicer cocoa powder. I'm using what I have, which is the Great Value Fair Trade baking cocoa. Then we also need to add a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And so now we're just gonna get that all nice and mixed together. Ooh, try not to make a cloud of cocoa powder. It does say that this is going to be very thick. And I can tell right now that that is true. So might be time to go back to my spoon. The last ingredient before we put it in our baking dish is a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. I have allergy-friendly 72% cocoa chunks. I think that's going to work just fine. So we do want to line our baking pan with some parchment papers here. And then I'm gonna put this brownie batter in there. I do want to show you the brownie batter. It's actually kind of surprising to me how much it looks like a real traditional brownie batter. I'm really interested to see how this comes out. So this is a thick batter here, and it requires you to manipulate it to actually get it to the corners. But I've made other brownies that are like that before, so I don't know that that's unusual per se or distinct to these, but it looks pretty good. I don't know if I was just looking at this, I don't know that I would assume it was a grain-free batter. Our brownie batter is all spread out in our pan, and so these are going to go in the oven. I do want to double check the baking time. It says like 15 to 20 minutes baking. We just want to bake them until a tester goes in and comes out clean. I don't think I mentioned, but the oven is preheated to 350 degrees. So let's get these baking. I just tested these with a toothpick and they came out clean. So they are ready to come out of the oven. The brownies say they need to cool for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Absolutely don't cut into them beforehand. So I'm going to walk away. I'm going to go get cleaned up for my time in the garden, and then I won't be tempted to cut into them before they're ready. It's actually the next morning, you guys. I don't know what happened, but some of my footage got messed up. And so I still wanted you guys to see the finished brownies, and they are beautiful. So they've been sitting in the fridge. I don't know how well you can see from over there, but there's a chocolate drizzle on top. The recipe called for taking a 1/4 teaspoon of coconut oil and a couple of tablespoons of chocolate chips and melting it together. I used the ghee and the chocolate chunks that I had, and it worked really well. And then we just drizzled it over the top, and it's set up when we put them in the fridge. But let's cut one of these. We ate some last night, and they are delicious. They are very fudgy. I honestly am not sure I would have ever guessed that these were grain-free if somebody just served them to me. I'm going to bring it over there a little closer so you can get a good look at the texture here. But they are just a beautiful fudgy brownie. There is a little bit of a cashew flavor to these. It's not overwhelming, but if you don't like cashews, this would not maybe be the recipe for you. The original recipe called for almond butter, but I don't handle almonds well, so that's why I subbed the cashews. But so good, you guys. When I tell you these might be the best brownies I've ever made, I'm not exaggerating. I have struggled with getting a nice fudgy brownie instead of a cakey brownie, and these are just incredibly fudgy. So good. So if you're looking for a grain-free brownie, This is a total winner, and I will link the recipe down below. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.